City of Stevens Point Police and Fire Commission meeting, recorded February 22, 2022.
Okay, I have 10:30. We'll call the special meeting of the Police and Fire Commission to order. Leanne, if you can call the roll, please.
Kirschling.
Here.
Rozek. Here. Moore.
Here.
Ostrowski.
Here.
Taylor is excused.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have one item on the agenda. This is a non-action item. We're not going to be taking any votes here. It's totally for information so that everybody knows what the subject is, what the background of it is, and where we're going to go from here. It is a presentation by Assistant Chief J.B. Moody regarding the restructure of the fire department, specifically the battalion chief position. J.B.? You're not JB.
No, I'm not. Good morning. I just wanted the Police and Fire Commission to know that this should just not come up on the radar as we instituted last year. I wanted the whole commission to know this. When I became chief 7.5 years ago, this was discussed, and it kept being rediscussed every year, year and a half. And the reason us as a management team decided not to pursue it earlier is because the city's pay plan was not comparable to what the captains at the time were making. So when the city adjusted the pay plan and made things more comparable, discussion started last year when I went to Commissioner Kirschling, told him they were going to move forward. He told me to go to President Westcott, and he said, go ahead and move forward. I just wanted to lay the foundation that this idea just didn't pop up since last fall. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief Moody.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, my name is J.B. Moody. I'm the Assistant Chief of Fire Department Operations with the City of Stevens Point. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about the implementation of the Battalion Chief's position within the Stevens Point Fire Department. The Battalion Chief's position versus the Captain's position we're going to discuss. We're also going to talk about job description differences, communication, and effective communication within the department and within the chain of command. We're going to talk about the ratio of fire officers on each shift compared to the motor pump operators and firefighter paramedics, comparable departments, internal and external, the rate of pay and the promotional process as we move through this. So with the battalion chief's position versus the captain's, this position is not an unusual rank within an organizational structure. This is a position that was actually in the Stevens Point Fire Department prior to the reorganization in 2009, 2010. It was just labeled as a deputy chief, not a battalion chief's position. The reason that was because of the current rank structure at that time in 2009. In 2009, we had a chief, we had a bureau chief that was in charge of training and safety, and then we had 3 deputy chiefs, a deputy chief on each shift as a chief officer. The reason that was because at that time, deputy chiefs are technically in charge of operations, second in charge to the fire chief when you look at the standard org charts out there in history. This position as a battalion chief normally oversees multiple fire companies and multiple fire stations. And that's currently what we have here in Stevens Point. We have 5 companies on at any given time throughout the day. We have a shift commander who has car 4. We have an engine company, a truck company, and 2 med units. And those are housed within 2 firehouses throughout the city of Stevens Point. In many different departments, again, this has been a part of the rank structure and culture. And as we move forward, this is something that we want to implement here in the Stevens Point Fire Department. And as a battalion chief's position, we feel that is appropriate. This position is also going to help with recruitment and retention. When we talk about recruitment and retention, we've looked at hiring firefighter paramedics as well, and we also looked at hiring from the top. As the PFC is well aware, we just got done running a national search for a fire chief's position. And so we're following suit with that to be able to fill other positions within the department, internally and externally, and hoping to help with that recruitment and retention process. We're going to talk about similar duties and responsibilities that the current captains have versus what the battalion chiefs will be doing into the future. As you can see, this is going to be the proposed org structure of the fire department. The police and fire commission in blue, the fire chief, assistant chiefs in charge of operations, the training and fire marshal, and then you'll see the battalion chief. The battalion chief is going to be a chief officer overseeing 2 stations and multiple fire companies within the department. The job differences, again, this position, like we talked about, is a mid-level managerial position, but we really need to talk about the effective leadership when it comes to this position, the value-driven and mission-focused position, and that's important to talk about when we talk about leadership, the value-driven and mission-focused part of this department. We need to understand what our core values are. We need to understand what our vision and mission statements are. And we need to be able to have that effective communication on the line and from the chief all the way down and throughout the department. We sometimes leave our captains currently on an island. Captains in history or in other departments primarily are normally company officers that ride on truck companies. Normally, lieutenants are responsible for engines or squad companies, and captains oversee truck companies. In this process, we feel that we've done an injustice to our captains. Like the chief had said earlier, through the restructure in 2009, when we make changes, it's important to reevaluate and reflect on changes. And if it's not the right fit, well, then we need to change that again. And so these discussions started back in 2014, 15, and 16 when the chief took over, and I was a shift commander at the time, and found myself at sometimes on an island during some of these situations that we're going to discuss. The pay plan, like the chief had talked about, we're going to discuss later on as well, just was not there at the time. So we moved forward at that time, trying to address any concerns that we could and doing the best to our ability. But now is the time to move on and address the concerns that we've had for many years and right that wrong. When we talk about performance and evaluations and issues and how they're addressed, again, we talk about that island. The fire department is no longer about what we think or what we have ideas on. It's data-driven and experience-driven. Is how the firehouse needs to operate now and into the future. And with that, when we've had to deal with corrective action or when we've had to deal with achievements and recognizing people for their outstanding accomplishments within the Stevens Point Fire Department, there sometimes has been a lack of that within the company officers' positions. They feel that at certain points that is not their responsibility to take care of those things. They also feel at certain points they've been directed by union executive officers not to be involved in those things unless under order of a chief officer. And that's not how we need to run a firehouse in the future. As a prime example, we just went through a termination hearing. We had people of the same rank sit in front of this Police and Fire Commission and talk about their views on the mission, the vision, and the core values of this department of the same rank, and gave 2 completely different objective opinions on what they thought the chief's directive and mission was within the fire department. That can't happen in the future. We need to be consistent. We need to be a cohesive group in order to move into the future. And this will help address that. Communications, we've talked about all those things now, about moving things up and down the chain of command and where that lack of connection is. And I'll be very honest, where I feel the lack of connection is right now is between the assistant chiefs and the captains, those shift commanders currently out on the line. And I feel with making this position a deputy chief's position, we would have a more cohesive work environment. And we talk about that recruitment and retention process. Now, I know there's been a concern about the ratio of officers to motor pump operators and firefighter paramedics within the department. And our current rank structure has 3 officers on each shift, currently a captain and 2 lieutenants. And the proposed new structure, it again would still be 3 officers, a battalion chief, and 2 lieutenants. The ratio would be 4.3. I will tell you, standing up here, I am an emergency services instructor. I teach both company operations and chief officer operations at the technical college level. And when you look at the normal books that they're presenting and teaching at these levels, the normal span of control for these fire company officers and chief officers is 3 to 5. We fall right in the middle of that. Comparable departments. We looked at all 5 external comparable departments, and all of them have chief officers on the line serving as shift commanders currently at this time. We are the only department that does not have this type of rank structure. Wisconsin Rapids, Wausau, Eau Claire, and Appleton all have battalion chief positions. The only department that does not have a battalion chief position is Marshfield, and that's for legal reasons. Marshfield has 5 deputy chiefs. They have 1 on each shift, and they have 2 40-hour work week deputy chiefs as well. The reason that is because they only have 1 firehouse, and because law states that you can only, with 1 firehouse, have 1 position between the line staff and the fire chief. That's why they've created deputy chiefs for their 5 positions, whether they're on the line or serving as a 40-hour work week position. The rate of pay. This is why we're standing here in front of you today as well. We're able to talk about this rate of pay and the pay scale and being comparable to what the current captains are making. When we started to have this discussion back in 2014-15, the city pay plan was not there. The grades, the steps, it was not going to be a comparable fit. And Chief Finn had discussed that with his management staff and the 3 shift commanders at that time. Moving forward to today, with the city pay plan being adjusted and brought up to pace, we feel that there is going to be a comparable rate for our current shift commanders if selected as one of the new battalion chiefs, that there's going to be no loss in pay, but there's also going to be no inflation either. The pay scales are going to be pretty comparable. The promotional process. The promotional process is going to be done through a Chiefs Assessment Center. And I will tell everyone here that I have lots of experience going through Chiefs Assessment Centers. Not only having to participate as an individual in Chiefs Assessment Centers, but also helping as a chief on these assessment centers, working with departments like Wisconsin Rapids, Marshfield, and Wausau. I've been at several of these assessment centers, most recently working with Rylander Fire Department through their Chiefs Assessment Center. I know what needs to happen. We're going to be looking at operational experience. We're going to be looking at how they can handle human relations experiences. We're going to be looking at a lot of different things, making sure that the people that we put in these positions are well-rounded and best suited for that job. With that, that is the presentation of what we're doing and moving forward in the firehouse with the battalion chief's position. It's a 30,000-foot view, just looking over the position, and I'm going to give it back over to the Police and Fire Commission at this time.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Moody. We're not even going to be taking any questions on this today, and we're taking no action, just to be very clear. This was for information so that we all have a place to start a good conversation and help to inform everyone about what is being addressed. So I thank you for your time this morning, and we will see you another time. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.